Hello and welcome everyone to our third quarterly webinar for the COBOL Programming Course, the Open Mainframe Project COBOL Programming Course. Every year just seems to fly by and it's unbelievable. We're talking third quarter. And so Mike and I, who are sort of partners in crime and have been so for 4 years now, right, Mike? At least, and counting, are super excited to have our guest speakers of the day. So we'll go around this virtual table and do introductions, but a real quick teaser. We have our amazing summer mentorship mentor Ashish and mentees Ali and Rituraj joining us today to talk about all the work that they've done. And it is amazing to see, and I think I said this in one of my LinkedIn posts, 1 summer, 3 months, and updates kind of thing. So it is just absolutely mind-blowing, at least to me, to see the automation that this mentees have brought in, and just the leadership that Ashish has shown. He was our mentee last year in 2022. 23, sorry, and then in 2024 now as a mentor. I mean, it is just all around amazing success story. You want to stay tuned, listen in, a lot to learn and take in from this session. With that, my name is Sudarshana Srinivasan. I work for IBM as an IBM Z advocacy manager. My day job is all about really bringing Z to the community at large and talking about why IBM Z is important, how it's relevant in our technology world today, and how cool it is, really. And so that's me. And with that, I give it up to you, Mike.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We certainly have a lot of exciting topics to share with you and all the great work our mentees and mentor Ashish did over the summer. A little bit about myself. I have a lot of background in the Zowe space and the Zowe project, and I came on to co-lead the COBOL programming course when it was initially launching and help get the GitHub project set up. And I've had the opportunity to work with multiple mentees and mentors over the years, and it's been a great experience. My day job is I'm an engineering manager working at Broadcom in the AI ops value stream, specifically focused on our NetMaster product, but I try to contribute as much as possible when I can to this great community. With that, I'll turn it over to Joe. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Thanks. Yeah, really quickly. So my backdrop looks like one of those fake ones that you can get in Zoom because you don't want to show people how cluttered your bedroom is or something like that. It's actually real. It's actually Vienna, Austria. It's a view outside the Vienna Conference Center. So I'm actually here doing something that I love, an open source summit conference, meeting with a lot of other projects, a lot of customers, students, academics working around, for me, the intersection of open source and the mainframe, and there's a huge buzz here around education, and I see so much fresh talent entering the workplace. So I'm really thrilled to see everything that that you've all done, mentees. So it's your show. I'll just mute myself, and thank you for everything you've done.
Go ahead, Ashish.
All right. Yeah, Ashish, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I am Ashish Kumar Naik and I am a final year student at OUTR Bhubaneswar, and it's a college from India. And apart from that, I love to contribute to open source, and I have contributed to a lot of projects throughout my bachelor's. And recently, I was one of the mentor of this Linux Foundation sponsored program, that is the Open Mainframe Project, and where we have developed the COBOL Programming Course and updated it also. And yeah, that's about me. Dolly, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name's Ali. I'm a student at West. I'm a graduate of computer science at Western University, and in London, Ontario. And I was responsible for setting up the GitHub repository for testing and implementing the automation and GitHub Actions for the COBOL testing that we will be discussing later today. We'll also be doing a live demo later once everyone's done with their introductions. And this has been my first experience in the open source ecosystem, and I've honestly enjoyed it quite a bit, and I look forward to do more contributions in the future.
Hi, I am Rituraj Mahato. I am pursuing a bachelor's in computer science and engineering from Vellore Institute of Technology, India. I have been part of mainframe industry for quite some time now. Like initially I started with IBM Z Student Ambassador Program, later became an IBM champion for mainframes, and I enjoy helping others in tech through community work and mentorship. And let's discuss what we have done this summer, and I hope that other students would be eager to apply next year to contribute further in this course.
As I said, star-studded guest panelists here. So with that though, Mike, I know I said during introductions, we've known each other for, or at least worked on this project together for what's going to be coming up 5 years soon, but 4 years and counting, right? And just wanted to take a moment to look at the course and just go, wow. I know we launched during the pandemic, right as COVID hit us, and it just rocketed from there, right? The course. And I think some of the decisions to be intentional and have Zowe as part of it, when Zowe was still really very early stage project as well, and things has really helped, right? I think we've built a strong synergy between the COBOL programming course and Zowe. And here we'll hear Rituraj talk about that upgrade to Zowe version 3 for the course, right? From a user experience. My point being, I think both projects have just grown exponentially in the last 4 years. And I want to say that the COBOL course has been a huge part of Zoe's adoption as well, right? In the sense that you get to use it firsthand, right? As part of the course, as part of getting onboarded and, engaging and interacting with the mainframe. So it's just been wow. And if I could just add also, right, we recently sort of had to do a system move, not that the learners experienced any glitch or any, downtime, which is awesome, which we take pride in as well. But our learners don't see any change in the experience of learning COBOL. But we did have a system change in the back end for moving from one ZOS to another and things like that. And, with the new platform, Mike, in less than 3 months, I want to say, we did that cutoff sometime mid-June, right? We have over 1,200 learners who've already onboarded using this new platform as well, right? And counting. But we, of course, have way more than 10,000 some learners from the years past as well. So, it's just, I'm amazed every time I go in and I look, the learners are steady, they're coming. And I think there are those return learners too, who really want to come and experience some of that new content. So with that, I'm going to actually turn to you, Mike, because I know you've been also tracking, right, how we are doing as a project on Open Mainframe with our GitHub repo. So I can't wait for you to share sort of the state of the course.
Sure. And actually, let me share my screen here. 1 second.
And Joe, you should chime in because I know you are absolutely in the middle of all things Zoe and, really seeing some of this engagement, real life, with clients and such as well. So would love to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Sorry, Mike, go ahead, right?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say to kick off before I get into the numbers here. When we launched, um, we had a lot of immediate adoption and interest in the course, right? The course somewhat went viral. COBOL was in the news, and people were seeking out, opportunities to add COBOL to their tech toolkit is how we like to phrase it. But as you can see here on this graph, we continue to have sustained interest in the course, and this has continued year over year since the initial launch. So within the last 2-week period, we've had over 600 folks, 679 unique visitors to our GitHub repository, viewing the repository a total of 5,102 times. So folks continue to come back. I think the key role here in the synergy between Zoe and the COBOL programming course, which Sudarshana touched on as well, is that really it gives the Zowe community an opportunity to validate new features. For example, Rituraj will cover later how we are anticipating the Zowe V3 release, and we started adjusting our content based on Zowe V3 beta and incorporating some new features so that the Zowe community can look at the learners in the COBOL programming course and see how they're leveraging the technology today, so it benefits them. And for us, it really attracts folks to take the hands-on labs offered in our course. It allows them to learn COBOL through a familiar and accessible set of tools, that being Visual Studio Code. And sort of see this across the industry in that there's a need, not just in development, but even in operations and beyond, to allow folks with varying skill sets to engage with the mainframe, engage with the platform, and contribute readily. And I think doing this course and providing hands-on labs, leveraging the Zowe technology, leveraging command line interfaces, leveraging VS Code, and now leveraging GitHub Actions even, as Ali will touch on in his live demo later, really makes this more accessible and more, I would say, interesting, as these skills are applicable across development, mainframe, distributed cloud, and really allows folks to gain that experience through this open source project. So just coming back to the stats here for a moment, our community continues to grow. On our Slack channel, we have over 8,000 members leveraging the COBOL programming course. And as Sudarshana mentioned, we also have integrated with the new system on Z Explorer. So there's even a whole nother community over there where folks are engaging on the course content and asking for assistance on hands-on labs and things of that nature. In total for our GitHub repository, we have over 3,000 stars, 585 forks, 209 watchers, folks like viewing issues, seeing what's happening, seeing new releases of the course, and 24 contributors. Now, these contributors are folks who have actually contributed code that have made it into the released project, into our main branch in GitHub. So this number is about to grow by 2. So we're about to go up to 26 with Rituraj's and Ali's contributions. And then total, on our latest release stats here in the bottom right, on the Getting Started course, which is our most popular course, because it's where folks begin, we've had over 2,100 downloads. And this is just for the most recent release that was done last December. I think in total across all releases and all content, we have something like 25,000 downloads. But this is also accessible, as Sudarshana mentioned, downstream, either through the Z Explorer project, which won't necessarily contribute to these numbers, or through educational content on things like Pluralsight, Coursera, etc. So that's a brief overview of our stats today.
This is exciting, Mike. I know, I mean, and as you said, the other thing I also want to add, and that's exciting, I think I touched upon it already, is just how much we're able to engage with the community. And being that it's an open source project, the contributors is what makes a project, not just there, but it's really alive, thriving, and, really rich in the sense of the content that comes out. And it's a moment of pride for the project, not really any one of us, but for the project to see, for instance, Hartanto was a mentee first, and then he became a mentor the following year, and then, a TSC member. I know he couldn't join us here today, but another shining example, again, Ashish was a mentee last year and came right back with an idea and said, hey, what about if we could bring in CI/CD pipeline and some automation? I know I did this COBOL check stuff in the summer, and last fall he reached out and he added this as an idea. And we were like, okay, Ashish, if you want to do this, come right back on and become the mentor. But that passion, that self-motivation and drive that Ashish had is really what open source communities are all about, right? Coming back, doing whatever it takes kind of thing. And, both Ali and Rituraj just dove right in this summer. And I know Ali will talk a lot about the learnings, because GitHub Actions didn't just happen or didn't just come by right at the beginning. We had different ideas and, exploring and finding out that, it's not going to quite work the way we planned. And so it was a journey, was close, but the team did it. And, and what is really exciting is that I know Ali and Rituraj are really enjoyed the experience and want to continue to be contributors. So my point of rambling on these contributors is that any open source project really thrives on contributors. So if you have ideas on how we can make this course better, or just other ideas for what content can be added to this, things like that, just come on over. The GitHub link is here. Join and share your ideas, and we'll work together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you recall the COBOL programming course here, I know you recall, Sudarshana, but just the community in general started with a single book, right? And it's evidence of the evolution, right? You can see here on the bottom right, we've now separated this into 4 chapters that we continue to enhance. So we started with mostly learning COBOL, but then folks came in and they wanted to put in a couple advanced exercises. We added the advanced topics course. We worked with the COBOL Check team on adding this testing chapter around unit testing of COBOL applications that we're now extending with Ali's work and the GitHub Actions. And other ideas that are coming on can be included either in an existing course, or we could maybe have a COBOL Programming Course 5 someday on another topic. So just as evidence that we're trying to listen to your feedback, and mostly prioritizing a lot of this through the summer mentorship projects and then driving it forward that way. So I think with that, we'll turn it over to Ashish and the team here to discuss the summer contributions.
Yeah, and while Ashish gets to start to share his screen, I'd like to quickly turn to Joe for a moment here, because Joe, I know you're out there always evangelizing both, Zowe and the COBOL programming course. Some of your thoughts really on, you've been part of this journey as well, and sort of, seen the course sort of grow and evolve to where we are today. So some of your thoughts, and what are you seeing in adoption out there?
Yeah, thanks, Sudarshana. Yeah, I mean, Mike and everybody, you covered it really well. The one thing I think I'd like to add to everything that you said is it's not just available through, Coursera, Pluralsight, the IBM Z Learning platform. A lot of universities throughout the world, a lot of phenomenal educators, who some of which were already teaching mainframe courses and had been for perhaps 25 years or something or more. I think one of them. And I know Dr. Cameron Say at East Carolina University, and others like Jeffrey Decker and Herbert Daly, University of Wolverhampton, a little bit closer to home. They pivoted towards using this basically so that their 18, 19-year-old students coming along didn't have to look at COBOL through the lens of a green screen and basically learn their way to sort of PF key around. And I know Gemanas Samanicas at the University of Vilnius in Lithuania, he told me that by adopting this course, because he then deploys it on infrastructure within university, that he could empirically prove that he had more students signing up and more students going to completion. And what I've seen over the 5-year history of this course as well, when I go and visit very large banks and institutions, they're pivoting towards COBOL and hiring people who have the accreditation, who are then coming in and being the seed for changing some of the incumbent, very experienced COBOL developers at those institutions to start using some of the technology that we'll see around VS Code. So it has really, laid the foundation. It's been a ripple in terms of helping to just modernize the entire IBM Z ecosystem around COBOL and really future-proof it. And it's created lots of really good careers for folks who've either been part of authoring the course or people who've done the course. Yeah.
That is great. That is awesome to hear. I mean, yep. Thank you so much for sharing that. Good point, Joe. But yeah, Ashish, Rituraj, Ali, I know we talked at length about sort of the excitement we've created over the years, but, take it away and dive deep into your achievements really this summer.
So can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, we have 2 tasks in this summer mentorship. So in this 3 months from June to August, we have planned to update the first chapter and the fourth chapter. So actually, we have 4 chapters in the COBOL programming course, and the first chapter is about getting started one and how we can set the tools and use VS Code, Zoe Explorer, and this kind of things so that we can easily use COBOL in our local machine. And after that, in the fourth chapter, which is about the testing chapter, actually that was written by me in the year of 2023 when I was mentee. And after that, I came up with an idea how we can automate all the testing steps, because there are actually 20 to 25 steps which the user have to set up before doing a test. So if we can automate that kind of hefty amount of test, so we then able to easily run the test and easily see the results. So basically all the steps there, I have summarized into 4 main steps. So there is the COBOL files and the JCL files present in the client machine, and we use Zoe CLI to transfer it to the USS of the mainframe. And after that, we set the environment for the COBOL check, like the Java environment, and we can then run the executable of the COBOL check that will insert the unit test files to the original COBOL program. After that, we will get the modified COBOL program, which we can transfer to the dataset section of the mainframe. And after that, we can normally just submit the job using the Zoe Explorer or any Zoe CLI commands, so to get the desired outputs. So, and we can also check the desired outputs in the Zoe Explorer to check whether the tests are passed or failed. So these are basically the overview of the steps that I have written down in the year of 2023, and later we have modified the chapter to use the GitHub action, and we'll hear more about that from Ali. And and also in the first chapter, we have updated it to the Zoe version 3. Actually, it was all written in the Zoe version 1, and as the Zoe version 3 is coming in this September, we have updated it, and we'll hear about it from Rituraj. So Rituraj, would you like to go first and share your experience about this mentorship program and about your work? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yep.
So updating the course to take the advantage of the latest improvements that will be included in the Zoe V3 update in September end was one of the objectives of our project. And the Zoe V3 update introduced several significant enhancements over the V2, focusing on usability, performance, and security. So before going towards what we did and what I did specifically, let me share a short story with you how I got introduced to this course. So 2 years back from today, I got to know about a course known as COBOL Programming with VS Code by the one of the greatest persons of the mainframe industry, Jeff Bisty. So I attended all the lectures, the pre-recorded lectures, and that were really fantastic. So one of my suggestions would be, if you are a person who will not like to read all the content which we have already summarized, and it's really nice, but if you don't want to read that, it's fine. Just go to Jeff Beastie for that. Go to Pluralsight, Coursera, or IBM Learnings. Learn from there, and for labs and all, you can just come to our course. And both the courses are similar. The way we deliver the content is different. One is in video format, and one is in the documents format. So you can actually do it in both the ways as per you wish. So let's discuss what were the key differences between Zoe V3 and V2. First off would be the API mediation layer in Zoe V3 would be offering the improved stability and performance, enhanced API catalog features such as better search capabilities and faster API onboarding, making it easier to manage and discover APIs on the mainframe. The command line interface tools, like we have seen the newer commands in the Zowe CLI, and there would be certain new features as well, making it easier to interact with the mainframe resources. The application framework has been redesigned to provide more modular and extensible platform for building custom Zowe applications. The Zowe Explorer for Visual Studio Code has undergone significant changes, including a new user interface and improved integration with the VS Code ecosystem. So you might think like, so why it's important to upgrade to V3? So first of all, by incorporating this version in the course, we can ensure that learners are up to date with the latest technologies used in the industry, since Zowe is widely adopted for many modern mainframe practices. Zowe V3 introduced new CLI commands and better API handling. Updating the course will allow students to gain hands-on experience with the latest framework, and this will enhance their practical skills and employability. The updated Zowe CLI commands have been truly not, I would not say it would be really different, but very minor changes have been made with the Zowe V3. The redesigned application framework and CLI will be making it easier for students to build custom Zowe applications and automate mainframe tasks. And when I talk automation, okay, Ali would be discussing it, how he implemented it using GitHub Actions after I complete. So while exploring the course, I ensured that I marked every significant or small details that I could find using the pre-release version of V3. I made sure that we provide learners with an error-free learning experience. For that, I created a document detailing my observation and proposed changes to the course. I also worked with Zowe team on Slack, informing them on the issues I encountered during the process. I believe now is the time for Ali to showcase his demo for GitHub Actions. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Rituraj, and that was a great explanation on the features and upcoming lookout for Zowe V3. I think we're all going to be very excited when that eventually comes out at the end of this month, hopefully. Now, just to give a brief synopsis on my part of the project, as part of the journey of my course, my role has been to automate the process of running and testing COBOL programs using a tool called COBOL Check. And while initially we were planning to use Jenkins for this automation, we consulted with a few experts and decided to make an interesting pivot to GitHub Actions instead. And this was a choice that we made with the intention of hopefully making it more accessible and easier to understand for the learners of this course, and for those who are new to the integration, autonomous and continuous integration. And honestly, the shift to GitHub Actions was quite a bit of a learning process in itself, as despite having a bit of experience myself with GitHub Actions prior to this project, I have to admit that the learning curve was a bit steep, just trying to merge the two worlds of both mainframe computing and modern CI/CD processes, putting them together to create this project. I'll be sharing my screen in a moment to show the code off and demonstrate it as well. Now, for me, one of the most interesting aspects about this was just figuring out how to connect these mainframe to the MVS datasets, which required a deep dive into the Zowe CLI and the interaction with the local workstation and such. Now, I'm really looking forward to showing this off. So I'm going to share my screen just in a minute. Hold on.
So I think, Mike here, we can chime in as, sorry, as Ali's just getting started, I did want to, you touched upon, the idea was first to do it with Jenkins and, try that. And so let's just talk a little about the process also, right? Because I think it's always that learning and the reason for the pivot. So share a little about that, Ali, because I know you were in the middle of it, and Mike was, your go-to SME, and we did bring on some other SMEs from teams to see, hey, how can this really work? So talk a little about what made you decide to sort of pivot away from Jenkins.
Okay, so early on when we started around early in the first month of the course, we were set on Jenkins initially, as I previously mentioned. And one of the things we did to test that was we went to see if we could get Jenkins to work in a sort of Linux virtual machine. I believe we used, if I remember correctly, we deployed we created a Linux virtual machine and sort of deployed Jenkins on that just to see how that would look. And we got something working, though. Personally, we weren't exactly sure how to elaborate on the specifics with regards to getting Zowe CLI working on, in addition to Jenkins on the Linux virtual machine using the community cloud, if I remember correctly. That's what we were using. I don't know who Mike consulted myself. I think it was Emily, but I think Mike can elaborate on that part since he is here. Hi.
Yeah, I can, excuse me, I can add a couple notes here. So I think there were maybe three main drivers in the switch from Jenkins to GitHub Actions. One is there is a lot of educational content on using Zowe CLI in a Jenkins framework. So that exists today. So could we provide another angle of education to our learners in addition to Jenkins? Because a lot of that content is already out there. Two is we see this a little bit in the industry, really more adoption of GitHub Actions directly here rather than using an external CI/CD orchestrator. Although Jenkins is still quite popular, this could emerge within enterprises, more enterprises adopting GitHub Actions. So that was the second reason. And third, I think a big reason is GitHub Actions for open source projects are available for you to try out and use. So we don't have to manage the infrastructure behind the scenes to process that automation. Whereas if we used an independent CI/CD orchestration tool like Jenkins, we would have to provide the infrastructure for that to run on, or each individual user would have to install Jenkins on their machine, which would be a lot more content for them to get started. So I think those were sort of the big three. And then it was very helpful. I have some very minor experience with GitHub Actions. I know a lot of folks on the Zowe CLI team have significant experience with GitHub Actions. But then Ali had background with GitHub Actions. So then it all just kind of came together and made sense. And we were able to work with some of the folks on the Zowe CLI team from time to time. I know we engaged with Timothy and Fernando over on that team at one point, and they were helping us out. But certainly Ali's background helped make this possible.
Yes, again, it's all back to using the tools that the developers are already using, right? And that was one of the reasons we went with VS Code right at the get-go, bringing on Zowe and now GitHub Actions. It's really about learning COBOL and not so much the environment and the tools that you need to learn COBOL. So the goal of this course has always been right from the get-go, focus on learning COBOL, the programming language. So making everything else accessible, convenient, comfortable, familiar, whatever adjective we want to throw out there for developers, so that the focus then is on learning COBOL, right, Mike? So this is yet another very good example of that. So thank you, Ali and Mike, for sharing that.
Yes, and as was mentioned earlier, our goal with automating this was to allow the learners to focus on COBOL. And as such, one of the things I did with regards to the actual mentorship program was I created this repository to demonstrate the process succinctly. So I created a repository called Zowe Autotest, which is meant to store all the script files and, well, do the automated testing, as in simple terms. So key features include the automated COBOL testing using COBOL check, continuous integration with GitHub Actions, mainframe deployment using Zowe CLI, and test-driven development and traditional development approaches. And we use the sample programs, numbers, and pay and depth pay, which is from the older revision of this course. And simply put, all the user really needs to do is clone this repository, set up their mainframe credentials in GitHub secrets, modify the COBOL program to test cases if needed, and then just push the changes to trigger the GitHub Actions workflow. One of the things I really like about GitHub Actions is that anytime you make changes to the code, it will immediately attempt to, you can have it so that in case of a push or a pull request, you can trigger the GitHub action to test your program, and it will tell you if it successfully deployed or not. And I'll be showing you that in a moment. So let me just quickly go over the scripts that are used in this, which make this possible. Hold on, let me open up the main action script. So give me a second. So the workflow this is the workflow we're currently using. So depending on it executes when a push or pull request is done on the main branch, and based on that, it installs it uses an Ubuntu virtual machine and set up Node.js and Zowe CLI. Then it makes these two scripts executable, which I'll go over shortly, and then runs these operations based on the IP address and port provided for the Zowe for this course, which should be changed in case of any updates in the future. Then it uses GitHub secrets for the username and password to keep things all secure, making sure that we don't have any leaks on that end. And well, that's about it. And then it just simply runs these scripts as necessary. So let me just go into these scripts. The first script I want to go over is Zowe operations.sh, which simply takes the COBOL check folder, which is currently in this repository, and uploads it to the USS in the mainframe itself. And once that is done, and it also checks that if a directory doesn't exist, it already exists, so that you don't have to continuously upload it over and over again every single time you make a change to the COBOL check. It's saving some time and making sure that we don't, do anything too redundant there. So moving on, we move on to the next step, which is like the main sauce of this project is mainframe operations.h. In simple terms, the program here, the script here simply sets up the environment, checks Java's availability, sets the username, changes to the COBOL check directory in the USS, makes the COBOL check program executable, then makes a script in the scripts directory executable, and then performs two different functions: run COBOL check and copy the dataset, which essentially has the program has it so that it runs COBOL check on the program, which will be either, in this case, either numbers mpay or deptpay.jcl, and once that's done, the JCL file and resulting COBOL file are copied to the dataset so that you can execute a job. In fact, as of the latest update, which was something that I hadn't done until recently, there's a little bit of code here that actually submits the job after everything is done and gives you the job ID, so that afterwards you can simply go into, I believe it would be VS Code in our case, to look for the job and simply check the status update. Now for the live demo, since the latest update, I'm just going to run the latest thing. Again, one of my favorite parts about the GitHub Actions. You get to see if everything is working, and you get to see your output right here. You get a little green tick mark confirming that you indeed coded it correctly and did not forget a semicolon somewhere. So for the sake of brevity, I'll be doing a rerun of this action. So give me a second. Oh, sorry, there it is, rerun all jobs. So then it will execute the operations as we speak here. Just to quickly go over things while this is running, since this does take about a minute or so, not too long. Just to briefly summarize what this does, it sets up the environment, makes some scripts executable, runs some operations as previously mentioned, then uploads the results to the datasets and submits the job. So most of it's pretty much automated on your end, on here in GitHub Actions, and all you have to do is just verify, hey, did the job execute correctly or not, and you're good. And yep, everything's working exactly as expected, and no issues have been observed. And I'm really happy with this result. So let me just quickly go to switch over to VS Code so that we can verify the results. Since I think we're all excited to see if this actually works. One moment. Okie dokie. So I've just opened up VS Code and I've
The
got
moment
Zowe
of truth, Ali, the
So-
moment of
so-
truth.
It's already updated. And let's pick one. I'm gonna go with ImpPay, and I'm happy to say, there we go. 4 test cases were executed, and 4 of them were passed successfully. And that's basically that's basically how it works.
Yeah, I know it was a quick 5-minute, 10-minute, whatever demo here, but it was blood, sweat, and tears of 3 months, right? And you know, this is awesome work. I know personally for me, it's super exciting. You know, just seeing COBOL check last year, the work that Ashish did, and I think Joe to the comment you or the response that you have here as well. So the one thing that Ashish did for the first time ever, and I know Rune was thrilled actually, is that COBOL check. He got it run on the mainframe as opposed to the COBOL check, the
Oh, he
program
did. I'm
itself.
sorry,
Yeah.
I answered that question wrong.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry,
no,
Bruno.
not at all.
Sorry.
But COBOL check as a program was doing exactly what you were saying, right? Running it on your own device and doing your unit test for you off the mainframe. For the first time ever, Ashish last year actually got the whole thing to run on the mainframe, including loading the COBOL check compile. Exactly. So the COBOL check executable, the code, everything goes on the mainframe, which is why he showed the USS, right? And he used USS to get it back and forth. And that's really what Ali here is talking about. All that back and forth that Ashish had as detailed steps that the learner had to do is now one click of the button. How cool is that, right? I mean, here we are talking about automation and AI informing the life, you know, the world we live in and all of that. We are right there, you know, in the cutting edge of technology, bringing everything, you know, to this course. So that's what's really exciting for me. But as you can see, I talk a lot when I get excited. So I'm going to stop talking and, you know, Joe, Paul, Mike, you know, chime in. This is great if you ask me.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, this is excellent. I'd say a big piece to key in on here, like if you're thinking about the value this adds to COBOL application development, is, you know, typically in a lot of engineering processes, you want to automate as much as possible after the code change. So you make the code change, you want to automate builds, you want to automate deployment tests, you want to automate regression tests, you want to automate unit tests. And in this scenario, we were automating some COBOL unit tests, but you could also, you know, there's other educational articles out there on Zowe CLI about automating the build and deployment of COBOL Kix applications. Certainly that can play a role here in GitHub Actions as well. So that's really the idea here, is automating as much as possible, you know, after the code change, and providing educational content to enable our learners to do the same. And I'd say this makes this content also relevant to folks who are experienced in COBOL, but want to learn some of these newer automation paths. You know, they might be familiar automating via other means like, you know, JCL or Rex on platform. But here would be an opportunity to learn a little bit about GitHub, learn a little bit about GitHub Actions, and think about how perhaps those could apply to what they're doing in-house for COBOL application development.
Yeah, this is just fantastic. Siddharth, you were talking about the launch of the Zowe Explorer plugin in VS Code in 2020, just at the start of the pandemic with the COBOL course, and then the fact that the whole was greater than the sum of the parts, and they both, you know, kind of, you know, symbiotically grew. And this is the real kind of inception seed of, you know, when we all get together in 4 years' time, we'll be looking back on this, just saying what a pivotal moment was. It's just fantastic. One other quick thing, I love watching people demo live, so just 11 out of 10 for that. Next time, I would have loved, I use the Git plugin for VS Code, which is there by default because Microsoft deliver it, because I own both, you know, to just do like my commits and pushes. I wonder if there's a way for the next time you do the demo to just kind of, I don't know enough about whether there's a plugin or whether it's already available in base VS Code to start executing the GitHub actions and exploring that from within the same form factor. That's all. Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that there does exist actually an extension or a plugin in VS Code that allows you to execute GitHub actions from here. I am aware of it, though I haven't really.
It's okay. It's not meant as a criticism. It's like every time I leave a magic show, I'm like, the magicians have amazed me, but I still want to come back next year and see something even more amazing. Thank you.
Remind me next time to pull two rabbits out of a hat this time.
You just did about 3 or 4 or 5 already, so you did a great job. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I made a comment. It was very, very impressive. And me being a person that really uses the old-fashioned way of doing things, the ISPF editor, I mean, I was blown away by this. But like Joe, it's kind of like, oh, I want to know how you pulled that magic off. So sometimes the magicians don't always want to tell the secrets. But man, I'll tell you, it is impressive. I'll put it that way. And I'm like Joe, I would love to know, some of the secret sauce behind it. But very impressive.
Thank you very much, Paul. I really appreciate that. After putting on all this work over for the last 2 to 3 months, I'm really happy to have gotten it working. In fact, I'll be honest, the last part with regards to job submission took me quite a bit longer than the rest of it, since the rest of it was more or less implementing the commands that were kind of already present on here and adapting it to this what's it called? Adapting it to this workflow, but being able to submit that job and then just seeing the results was its own set of challenges, and I really appreciate that I was able to get it working for this demo.
I've got one quick question popped into my mind. So presumably when you submit the job, you're using Zowe CLI, right? So you're doing a Zowe job submit, and then you're getting the response format back in JSON, and you're parsing that. Did you have to make any modifications to the job so that you could parse it to the point where you could, how easy was it to parse that output? What did you use? Did you use like JQ, or maybe I'm going off topic? Maybe I'm just nerding out with, yeah.
Well, I think I just used the standard output that I got from the when I was executing the commands, actually. So I don't think there was anything too difficult other than just simply taking the output from the.
So you're basically taking it and rendering it, yeah. So for the version 2, you can imagine a GUI where you've got like kind of ticks and green things and red things and yeah, you can see where the direction this might head, which is then then it gets much richer into the kind of like the kind of the form factor, what do you call it, spit and polish. I don't know if I can still talk about that. That's how you spit and polish. So the spit and polish that really, that things like JUnit and Jest and things like that have for the kind of version 2. Awesome job. Great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to integrating some of that stuff later on. Honestly, that's actually good to bring that up, since we're always looking for more ideas and more things to contribute to the project.
Another comment I'll make, instead of calling it magic, it occurred to me because more and more we're creating these easy buttons. And one thing I've learned about the easy buttons, there's a lot of really clever stuff behind the easy buttons, and you just proved it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I know there were a few questions, and thank you, Rituraj and Joe. You've been answering them a lot as well. So there's one question. Bruno is asking Ali if you could reach out to him because he wants to, understand and go deeper into what you just shared, I guess. So you could grab that from the chat there, Ali. But yeah, I think that was great. As I said, I mean, it's always exciting to see the amazing work, right? Oh, oops, we just lost Ashish. Hopefully he'll come back. But I personally don't have any other questions or comments, but if everybody just wants to go around the table here as we, start to close out, share your closing thoughts and also, what we can look forward to. I know we've had a few topics, right, as a course on our to-do list, if you will, right, Mike, Paul, and Joe, and we are certainly looking forward to being able to bring that to life as well. One of that is being the COBOL Kicks integration. And yes, I said it. Yes, I said it. It's been on our plate, one of those things, right? But we do have, really excited, eager contributors. I know Rituraj, Ali, Ashish have all said they want to continue, they want to help. So why not?
That's
so that
awesome.
maybe is our path forward. So
yeah, and we actually have, so there are Kicks education classes that we need to modernize. And we went through an exercise to do that literally about 3 years ago, I think. And we even created a plugin for Visual Studio Code to do that. That's delivered the Zowe project. The issue that we always had was isolation. So within a ZOS LPAR, you can be running, as long as you've got enough, basically, enough engine power, you can be running thousands of users, and you can isolate them all based upon their high-level qualifier, so they won't collide. Kicks is harder, right? Because you need to give people their own address space, their own region, if you're going to give them anything other than something, just a bicycle with stabilizing wheels, right? If you want to give them any freedom and make it so that the same transaction ID is used. But I was just talking to Russ Cruikshank literally last week, and he came into my office and he was so excited, and he goes, what, we've got it. Paul, you know more about this backstory, but basically.
Yeah, I was going to update people about that. And I was going to say, okay, let's not say it's soup yet, because you'll get an update from Ross, and Lee will be there. But Sudarshana, I'll let you know that we've got to move a little bit slowly here, because we've got a clever thing they're doing. How can we integrate it into what we're doing here? That remains to be seen. We're tackling one thing at a time. So it's a statement of direction, not just, that's a classic thing that they always do, a statement of direction. And let's not count it yet. Let's not put anything in the bank yet. Okay,
no, absolutely. But that's really what this is all about, right? This is all about that ideation. And, we've been thinking about it. We've been talking about it. So it's one of those things that I think, eventually we'll get to it. I know we will, but it's just, that one topic alone sort of has been.
And you talked about the customers and the academics, or I suppose are the end users. Again, they've been asking, if I had $1 for every time that they asked me that question, the joke is I wouldn't be talking to you now, but I would still be, because I love my job, right? But
so we are making some progress. There's no doubt about that, but we've got to do a little bit cautiously, because there's still a number of unknowns for stability with what we're attempting to pull off, because we're doing something very creative. Joe kind of knows about it. Obviously, he's going to get more information from Cruikshank and Lee Compton.
Oh no, I've got some of the secrets, but we want to also make sure that students have a good experience. We don't want one student to be kind of told off, or put on a naughty step because they did something that their user ID allowed them to do, and then they basically ended up trampling over another student. So we have to make sure that we have those guardrails in place.
And I'll make a very high level comment, because I'm actually seeing it, like at University of North Florida and other places. What this project is doing, it's driving the Zowe adoption, and there's lots of pieces to Zowe, and it's driving COBOL and the learning of COBOL, which is really critical to the commerce of the world. And so those two things, I can see that it's really helping with adoption of COBOL and Zowe, which is going to become more and more important. That's what this project is doing. That's what I see.
And by intersecting on the kind of backplane of the Open Mainframe Project, which is the kind of umbrella organization within Linux Foundation, it's allowing folks like Mike Bauer, who works for Broadcom, who's a vendor. A lot of us work for IBM, many other vendors as Rocket Software. We have Phoenix Software International. We have just like huge number of companies coming, and the educational establishments. So there have been three things of three, anyway, more than three. Non-chargeable things available to do this before, but this is really the first time that they were available with that kind of umbrella to basically say, look, it's a level playing field. Nobody's going to goof about with the license and give vendor control. And I think that's really helping the academic institutions to do that. And then huge shout out. It's late in the day here for me. So Rune Christensen, you mentioned. So Rune Christensen was at Bank Data. He's left Bank Data now, but he was a huge pivot point in basically getting the VS Code plugin to COBOL Check, which used not to exist. And I think, Sudarshana, that came as one of the Open Mainframe Project mentorship, summer mentorships last year, perhaps. So
that's right. Yeah.
This stuff is flying so fast. It's just incredible.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sliding along.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. So with that, I just, Mike, any last words as my partner in crime as we sort of wind up. I know every summer we're wowed. I know this summer was no different. So a huge, huge round of applause and big thank yous to Ashish, Ali, and Rituraj. I mean, you know, simply put, the three of you make us look good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing your journey. Thanks for improving the course. And maybe one comment in regards to the kicks conversation is that, you know, a lot of what we talked about was the infrastructure we need to do on our end to enable the hands-on labs. But if folks have ideas for what they want to see in that kicks education content, you know, open the issues, if you'd like to help with the instructions or the education portion of that, there's nothing really stopping us from getting started on the course side, on the book side. We'll just need some of these other prerequisites done for the hands-on lab. But yeah, just thanks to the team again for the great outcomes of the summer internship, and it was really exciting to see what you all were able to accomplish.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you in fourth quarter for our quarterly update. But, you know, don't be a stranger. You can find us on GitHub, on Slack, and stay in touch. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great job, team. Cheers, everyone.
Yep, bye.